All right there, everyone. Great to be back with you. We have once again our monthly chat with Bob Kudla of Trade Genius Academy here with us. If this is your first time with Bob, you are in for a real treat. Here is the founder and president of Trade Genius Academy, which he started back in 2015 after 25 years as an executive for two Fortune 500 companies in the financial services industry. And Bob, over the past 5 years, has amassed a 65% overall win record in the market. And so in our past conversations, Bob has helped us make some real financial sense of the crazy coronavirus pandemic we've been in, the race riots, and the massive flight away from our cities. And so today we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris. We're going to be talking about silver and gold sell-off, and what to expect in the markets as we approach November. So Bob, welcome back. Great to have you with us again.
Hey, Dr. Steve, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, Bob. Thank you. Our listeners, our viewers love your insights. And let's start with something we unfortunately have in common. And that is this new Democrat ticket that was made official yesterday. Now, I say, Bob and I were talking about earlier, we are somewhat, and we apologize that we are somewhat responsible for this ticket because Joe Biden is my former senator here in Delaware and Kamala Harris is Bob's current senator. So we've got this ticket here, and somehow I know in the grand scheme of things, you and I are, of course, not at fault here. But what's your assessment of Biden's choice? Is it going to make a difference for the outcome in November?
Yeah, I personally do not think so. The thing that she checked off the box was that she was already kind of tested in the with the primary campaign. So she's been doing she's been out there doing her campaigning when she was trying to become president herself, or at least the nomination for the Democratic Party. But everybody else that they had available, because Biden kind of boxed himself in. He just said, I want a woman, and I want a woman of color. And so his choices were pretty limited. He had the lady who tried to be governor of Georgia. She has a lot of baggage. You had Elizabeth Warren, which, depending how you define color. And
Sure.
And then
that would have been funny, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have Harris, and then you had Rice, and Rice, she's likely to be indicted in the next 30 days. For
right.
her. So she had a lot of baggage. So Harris was really the only choice. The one I feared, which I knew wasn't going to happen, was if they went ahead and did Tulsi Gabbard. Because she actually, I think she's a moral person.
Right.
And she has courage of her convictions, and she doesn't sway. Where Harris, on the other hand, is extremely transparent and transactional, and she's malleable. She'll do whatever it is that is expected of her. She'll forget what she said yesterday, which I think is going to be really good. For your listeners that probably haven't seen it yet, you will see these. Is that she did a speech where she mocked 18 to 24-year-olds as being stupid. That's going to be all over the place.
Right.
She told Vice President Biden, she called him a racist, and she basically, all intents purposes, called him either a sexual harasser or even like a rapist. And he picked her. If you felt that strongly about an individual that you call them a racist, and you call them basically, like they call Kavanaugh, basically a rapist, why would you ever want to be in cahoots with them? So she's simply an opportunist. Everybody knows that. She has low likability levels, which is a kiss of death for politicians. Obama, we knew Obama was going to win the election 18 months beforehand because he had high likability. He was a way of being able to give bad news in a happy way. He was able to jab his opponent like Trump's able to jab his opponent and not alienate the base. Where Harris she's just mean.
Yeah.
And she's extremely extreme. She had to get more and more extreme out there in her position. So if you look at the landscape of the Electoral College, there's there's a guy out there that I kind of like in terms of his view on things because he's been more right than not. Offline, I'll tell you who he is, and then you can start doing some research on the person. I think you'll like him too. Good insights is that he thinks the electoral college map is basically Trump eking out by 2 points, but he has Philadelphia and Pennsylvania following in the Biden camp, and I think that one's probably wrong. I mean, slight win because Harris is anti-fracking, she's anti-guns. You know, she's basically Pennsylvania has 2 big urban areas, but essentially it's a rural state. You know, a lot of you know, a lot of land in there, and I grew up there, so I know the area very well. And you know, and we grew up in a Democrat family, but we would be considered hard right right now. The way the party has moved is that I don't think she's going to carry those states, or nor Michigan. I think they totally alienated you know, those folks, and so I don't think she's a net ad. She was just what they had available.
Yeah,
and, and pretty scary if she gets in. I mean, you know, the things that they want to do, you know, to the country, it will be. I think it would cause some maybe irreparable harm. I mean, talking about generational harm to the country.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. We just did a video today where we pointed out that really Biden's a very, very weak candidate. When forget the opinion polls. I mean, just go back to 2016. Opinion polls didn't do anything for us. You have to look at the elections and the primary elections. And when you look at the primaries, Biden was an embarrassment early on. You know, Iowa, New Hampshire, didn't even break double digits. He came in 5th. No candidate has ever come in 5th in New Hampshire and has gone on to win the general election. And he was wrestling with just Bernie over the years as well, when he was dealing, not the years, over the months, even after the entire Democratic establishment lined up behind him. Still, Bernie was winning primaries, so he was having a rough time. Whereas Trump has been setting new records for an incumbent. He got 3 times what Obama got in New Hampshire in terms of the last time an incumbent ran for re-election. So that's why Helmut Norpoth is the Stony Brook University professor who has what's called that primary model, and he predicts presidential winners based on primaries, and he's giving Trump a 91% chance of winning. And that's a long setup to point out that at the very least, Biden should have found somebody who was as strong or a little stronger than him, or as weak or a little stronger. And the irony is he picked one of the few candidates that was actually weaker than he was in the primaries, because Kamala Harris had to drop out before she even went to a primary. Her own internal polls showed that she would do even worse than Biden. So just from that vantage point alone, this was a really bad choice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, setting aside, I think, you know, voter fraud and all that stuff.
Right.
Trump really screws up. I think he should win he should win re-election. Look, Biden, the African American community is not excited about Biden.
Right.
He's not going to energize that base at all. He thinks he carries that base, and she's going to carry some other portion of the base. Look, you know, the law and order people don't trust her, and the anarchists view her as a law and order person. So she's kind of like in really,
she's stuck, in between. She's getting squeezed,
Despite any base, you know. I think the mayor of Atlanta screwed up. She should have came down hard on the rioters, and she would have been the VP candidate. And she's fresh, and she's articulate, and she's quite the moderate, and she would have energized the Black community. But they, which they carry some states, you know, if they get enough out there. But they all screwed up. Whatever reason is the Lord put on these people's hearts some absolute confusion, and you know, their minds just went deranged.
Yeah,
and not coming out of it. I mean, these people are doubling down. You know, if they would have stopped this 30 days ago, it could have been a plea for help. Now it looks like they're scaring people.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. For me as a trader, that's what I'm watching is like, okay, at what point do people say, hey fam, it's time to pull in the horns? I know people are already moving. We discussed this. And I think I told you I have a home in Pennsylvania that I didn't think it was that like great of an area in terms of I put it on the market and it was sold within 24 hours above.
Wow. Yeah.
I was absolutely shocked, and then I asked the realtor, he said it's the phenomenon because we're close enough to New York and close enough to Philadelphia where people, if they have to go into the office in those burbs, they'll go in, but they want it to be in an area that was relatively safe because my home's in a kind of a semi-rural town. It's a town, but it's kind of ruralish, and it's that phenomenon is going people are going to I think are going to safety first, and I think it's going to be an issue for people, and when you're scared, you're not investing,
right?
And these cities are in big trouble, and what's going to happen? The people that are left are going to they're going to raise taxes on these people, agitate their base to keep their base from turning on them. And these states are going to be agitating for tax increases and all that money. The government sucks all that money out. They call government spending dead. It's deadened money, meaning it doesn't have the velocity and the enthusiasm because they're not really producing anything for the future. They're eating the seed corn, so that has implications down the line. So I think if people feel that this Biden, yeah, it probably is Obama, the Biden Harris ticket's going to have any chance of winning, you'll start seeing some real volatility in the market. At the wrong time, the market is at all-time highs. If you knew nothing else, it's due for a correction. It's been artificially induced. You and I were talking before the show. It's artificially induced by Fed money. So it's not like people are buying the stock market because they believe in the future. They're buying the stock market because the Fed is putting a backstop behind it, and they're basically eliminating the attractiveness of any other investment you can make.
Right.
And so, when you have bonds at 0%,
right,
it makes no sense to buying bonds, right? And real estate now, unless you're, moving into a certain area where you're refinancing, you can't, a lot of people can't qualify for these loans, and the banks are being extremely picky on loans. So you can't really grow your business that way unless you tap into the government, debt instruments that they've been putting out there. So we're at a point now where if you told me, if I knew nothing else, that we'd have a 20% correction and a recession next year, and I would say, yeah, that's normal. We're at the end of a cycle. We need to retrench. You add to it a chance, somebody who wants to open the border, give free stuff to everybody, and just fundamentally transform the country. You could be looking at potentially 40, 50, 60%, stock market. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying it's that fragile that there's no buyers in this market other than the Fed. And so people need to be careful.
Yeah, and you and I both in our chats have stated that we're pretty confident when all said and done that Trump will win re-election. Incumbents win 90% of the time, so he's already starting with an advantage there. So right, but it's also important to understand the contingencies as well. That actually leads to my second major discussion point here on gold and what happened with gold. We saw an amazing run of gold for the last several months, hit 2,000 or just shy of 2,000 an ounce.
2050 area.
Yeah, and first time ever. And then yesterday it crashed 6%, the biggest one-day loss since June of 2013. Gold is still up. I read nearly 30% for the year, but help us to understand what's going on with gold. Is it because the market, is it exactly what you were saying? It's because the market is so high that hedges are less attractive. What's going on there?
Yeah, so what drives gold and silver is that it's called real interest rates. And so when real interest rates are artificially suppressed, which they are now, it gives a room for gold and silver to rise. And so interest rates have been falling because they've been pushed down by the Fed. And so that's number one. Number two is money supply of the Fed is been increasing. That's also a good guy for gold and silver. And then the third thing we had is we had the dollar falling. So we had kind of a trifecta.
Okay.
So it's gold was up 50% from the March lows. Silver was up 300% from the lows. So you got to a point now where we're going into basically options expirations in July, that people that were short gold and silver, which there are a lot of them, are short because the bankers like to short these metals because it's competition to their monopoly on basically credit creation, is that they had to cover their bets, and they have to cover your bet at higher and higher prices. So silver just took off and gold went right with it. Gold made all-time highs. I told our subscribers that always when you have a breakout, you're going to come back and test the breakout. It's just that people that made money on it are going to test it. People that bought the breakout and see it starting to come down, freak out and get out. But we tested the breakout already yesterday, and the market had a slight bounce on it overnight and today. And my expectation is that this is just simply a consolidation for an incredible move. Had nothing to do with the elections, had nothing to do with the economy, it has everything to do with money printing.
Okay.
And the suppression of financial of debt that the Fed's doing. So our view is that, look, we hit our targets for 2020 per Trade Genius. Now we're saying, hey, we'll consolidate going into next year to end of 2021. We're going to have another 30% move in gold, and we're going to have a double in silver. So nothing's changed for us. We want to make money first, but those are our macro calls. We got out of most of our minor positions at the end of last week, and we actually flipped short the miners earlier this week for a trade that we're already out of. And so we had a quick day trade on it, but we may not be out of the woods yet. So a lot of times these consolidations happen in three waterfalls. So so we could still fall another 10% in silver and a couple more percent in gold, and then I think that's pretty much it.
I have an interesting testimonial from one of your members here that just what you were just saying, this reminded me of it. Wonder if dust will come down to 19.52. I put a limit order. Just check hubby's 403B, which we were talking earlier. I had to look up. That's an educational retirement fund for teachers and the like. It's been making 3% annually, making that here in a bad month as well. LOL, Bob rocks. Is this part of give us a sense of the strategies that are being implemented here?
Yeah, so Trade Genius, we built the premier stock trading system where we could see buying pressure and selling pressure. You and I, this is kind of like a hobby, an avocation for us to talk macro, but at the end of the day, I'm in the business of making money for myself and my subscribers. So, we see buying pressure coming in, and in this case, we saw buying pressure coming in for what they call the short GDX, which Dust is a leveraged short for the miners. And so I put a note out there for people to take a buy-in at 1952, and some people can't always grab it right away. So that person was saying, oh, it already started to move higher. Will I be able to get into it again? Which you don't know if it could just run. It drifted back down. That person was able to get back in. And then within 4 hours before the end of the day, we made nearly 4% on the trade. And I said, they're likely to probably put gold and silver back up again overnight. Let's hop off. And that person was just reacting to that. They were just saying, hey, and that person's been consistently, making money just following the signals. I tell people, keep it simple. We teach you how to do this so you can trade things that I don't trade. And then the signals I throw out there, like this Dust one, and I did UNG today, it's up 2%. I did another one earlier. I think I sent you a note on somebody made 3.5%. And that's kind of our game. We're not Lambo people. I don't try to tell people to go on all these crazy day trades. And, if you can make 2 to 3 to 4% a week, you're doubling and tripling your money in a year. And so they're out there every day. These trades are out there every day. And you just go ahead and just take them and rinse and repeat. And that's what we do. So our ultimate goal is to teach you how to do this and then use the system and find other things that we don't trade. And at the same time, every day I like to give some trades so people can see how it works and also make money and, pay for the service.
Yeah, there's another testimonial on Shopify, another earnings trade on Shopify this morning, up 10% after earnings announcement this morning. Do you know the backstory of that one?
Yeah, so this individual here, he trades our system, and he focuses himself on 5 or 6 stocks. That's all this person does. And whenever we call it the profit ribbon does these crossovers, and if the crossovers are deep enough, which means that it's a higher probability of making profit, he goes ahead and he actually does stock options on those calls and puts, and he just consistently makes money. And every once in a while, he'll just come in the room and just throw me his gains on this and thank me. And so he, the money he made on that trade alone pays for like 10 years of our service. So, and we do that consistently. And he doesn't follow any of my stock signals. He simply follows the algorithms that we have that you can put on any stock that you want. So, it's because we're not a guru service. You know what I mean? It's like when people aren't sitting, I'm not sitting there with my legs crossed. It's like, hey, here's the system, and the system works. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and just trust it. We call it see trade, take trade. Set your stop. If you're wrong, you get out. And you go to the next trade, but probabilities will tell you we're going to be right 2 out of 3 times, and you're going to be making money net, week in and week out. And that's how trading is supposed to work.
I noticed you use the expression a lot when we chat, rinse and repeat. So there's clearly a system. There's clearly principles that people learn that they can then apply themselves, and then you provide a lot of guidance and insight into that.
Yeah, I'm in the room from 6 a.m. my time. I'm out here in California, and I literally just hopped off as I got onto a call with you. Mm-hmm. So and I consider myself a master at my craft. And if people paid for this, like a one-on-one coaching, they would pay thousands of dollars a day, and we charge fractions of that a year. So right. We answer all the questions. I'm in a live room and I'm on a chat all day long. And so my goal is to help people. The thing that people think with trading, I apologize, the neighbor here is doing gardening here, but our thing is with trading is that we want to make people confident, in what they're doing. There's rules. What happens to people is trading is not hard. It's mentally difficult. So people want to get rich too fast. They want to take too much. Right. They want to swing for the fences. And I was told a long time ago that you want to be right, Bob, or do you want to be rich? His point was just see the trade, take the trade, follow the rules. Don't worry about the distraction. Like, you and I were just talking about before. Well, I think if Kamala Harris becomes, vice president and Joe Biden, the president, market's going to crash. Well, that's nice for me to know. But if the market tells me that it's not going to crash, I'm not selling. So it's kind of like a parlor game for me to know what's going on in the world. But at the same time, the market doesn't always think that way. The market has its own rules, and you just simply follow them, and you're going to do fine. So that's kind of how we look at it. And I always tell people too. A lot of people get worried, and they're like, "Oh, they're always asking me, should I take the trade, not take trade?" I said, "Look, I took the trade, so it's okay. Just take the trade.
Right.
Put your stop on,
right,
and then you'll see, and you'll start trusting the system. And that's why I put the signals out. Just trust the system, and you'll see for yourself. And and it works for most people. But you have to wrap your mind around the mentality of this being a long-term marathon versus, hey, I'm going to buy this stock. It needs to go up 25% to get rich. Yeah, because it never works out that way.
Right. Right. Though I do think it would be pretty cool if you were a guru. I'd love to see you in your sitting Indian style, as it were, legs crossed, seeing into the future. I don't know, man. That sounds good to me.
Well, you're welcome in the room anytime, but you'll see me more with my legs propped up,
There you go.
answering with the folks. So.
Bob, tell everyone how they can get in touch with you if they want to learn more.
Yeah, so go to tradelikeagenius.com, or as Dr. Steve said, tradegeniusacademy.com, and we put together specials for folks for Saturday where we pre-discounted everything 65% off. You know, we talk stocks here a lot, but we also have a trading room and a system for trading cryptocurrencies as well, and we trade futures as well. So we have 3 different programs depending if you want to trade futures, if you want to trade stocks, you want to trade cryptocurrencies. A lot of guys cross trade, so there's a bundle for all of the above. And then if you want to just get additional coaching and training and education, we have bundles for that as well. And if you just want to pick and choose and you don't want to go with a bundle, you can use promo code SUMMER and you get I think it's 45% off of what's in the store, but the bundles are already pre-discounted 65% off. So great deal. And you can call us if you have questions. We have somebody that'll take your call, and you can chat with us. You can email us, and I think you'll like what we do. You know, we try to under promise and over deliver, and we think you get good value out of joining us.
That's great, Bob. We'll have the link down below as well underneath the video, so it's a nice, easy single click to come on over to your site. Again, Bob, thank you so much. You bring great insight into things. Like I said, you know, in the position that you are with the economics mind that you have, you're the queen of the social sciences. You have to know a little bit of everything. So really appreciate your insight and helping to make sense of these times we're living in. Very much appreciated. Thanks again for being with us.
Thanks, Dr. Steve. Thanks for letting me share.
My pleasure.